Hey guys, how's it going? This is Gerald with Real Estate Investing Tips for Beginners. So today, what I want to do, I want to go ahead. I want to talk about an extremely hot topic that I'm always getting questions on, right? And we're going to talk about land, raw land. Why am I consistently talking about land? So one of the things I'm realizing over the years is most people think you cannot make money with cheap vacant land. Once again, most people think you can't make money with cheap vacant land. First and foremost, I want you all to think about something. Put something in your mind, put something in your thought process, right? Wherever you live at, whether you rent, whether you have bought, wherever you go shopping at, wherever you worship at, wherever you've gone to a park at, wherever you go to a theme park, whether that's a fishing store, a local mall, it doesn't matter, right? Whatever physical building you have visited, before that property was a building, it was just dirt. It was just land. Everything essentially that you see, that you have visited, that you have experienced, whatever the case may be, it didn't start out that way. It started off as a piece of dirt. Okay. It started off as a piece of vacant land. And wherever you live at, whether you rent, whether you have bought, at some point, that property before it was built, okay, it was just dirt. It was just a simple parcel number, essentially with no address, right? Just a parcel number. Parcel number is like a social security number for vacant land, right? Or for a piece of real estate. Um, Once that vacant piece of land, once something is built on that land, whether it be a store, a house, a gas station, a church, whatever the case may be, once something is built on top of it, it takes on a different identity. It is no longer just land, it becomes a whatever is built on top of that land. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the thing that is the raw structure, nothing built on it. Today, we're going to talk about how to find cheap vacant land in as little as 1 week. Why land? Why vacant land? Land itself is very interesting, right? Most people think you can't cash flow from it if it remains land, which is totally 100% not true. Land is beautiful in that it makes sense from an investment standpoint, especially as you get older. Right? Let's say you're listening to me right now and you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe your 80s, et cetera, et cetera. And what happens oftentimes is as we age on, what happens is essentially we begin to sell off our assets, right? One of the main reasons we sell off these assets is because we have to put effort into these assets. For the most part, houses, right? If you're, let's say you're in your 60s and you have multiple houses in your area, or you have multiple houses or apartment complexes, et cetera, throughout the United States. Those things take time. Those things take energy. Those things take effort. Those things, depending on if you have a dream tenant or a challenge tenant, it can be extremely challenging, right? So essentially what happens is you sell off your assets because though that upkeep, that energy that it takes is just, you know, let's move on to something different, right? Well, I'm going to put something in your mind. So if you have a vacant piece of land, number one, there are no tenants, there are no termites, there are no toilets to upkeep, right? It's just land. You can do a lot of different things with land, as we'll go ahead and we'll get into a little bit. in a little bit. But essentially, what I want to go ahead and talk about today is how to find cheap vacant land in as little as 1 week, right? So, who am I? Why listen to me? I have over 15 years of real estate investing experience, of real estate and real estate investing experience. And actually, if I think back at it, obviously it's been longer than that. I coach and train new real estate investors. Right? Over 60,000 subscribers on YouTube, over 45,000 followers in a Facebook group. So I want to take you back a little bit. My first experience with real estate or real estate investing actually was in the mid to late 90s. I remember being up one night and I was listening to this infomercial by this gentleman by the name of Carlton Sheets. A lot of you may, or some of you may remember this gentleman. He would come on late night infomercials and he began to talk about real estate investing, only he wasn't talking about traditional real estate investing. He was talking about no money down techniques. In other words, he was talking about this aspect of quote unquote creative real estate investing. Parts of creative real estate investing don't necessarily involve credit. Real estate, there's an aspect of real estate investing that does not involve credit. It does not involve your W-2 or your income. It doesn't necessarily involve the amount of reserves you have in the bank. It's creative, right? And so you're dealing primarily directly with the owner and you're making offers to the owner, right? Sometimes you're making cash offers, sometimes you're making creative offers, but essentially you're dealing one-on-one with you and the owner. And owners of property go through a lot of different things. And many of them are looking for creative solutions to solve their challenges and their problems, right? Many of these owners that own property, in other words, they own a piece of land with a building on top of it, whether that be a house or an apartment complex, et cetera, et cetera. Many of these owners just own land, right? They just own vacant land and they don't know how to cash flow it. They don't know what to do with it. And so you go ahead, you come along and you begin to help them by presenting to them creative solutions for their problem, their piece of vacant land. And many of these owners will go ahead and sell these properties essentially for pennies on the dollar, right? They will sell them for these ridiculously cheap prices that you can turn around and profit from a lot of these properties, right? So just where do you find these deals, right? Oftentimes, these deals have been sitting in your neighborhood probably since you've been there. Lots of times, way before you've been there, right? So let's say you live in an area where obviously it's houses, right? So you have a house, a house, house, a vacant lot, house, a house. Always ask yourself, what is going on with that lot, right? If it's not in your specific area, in your neighborhood directly, I want you to go out a mile or two or five, maybe even 10. And I want you to specifically look for vacant land. Now, you're going to come across a lot of different lots, a lot of different land lots, right? And all of these lots, behind all of these lots, there's a story, right? So if you live in an area that's just a bunch of houses, you're going to come across some land lots. If you live in an area that is referred to as an HOA, I'm shocked that more investors don't find properties oftentimes in their local HOA. Oftentimes, the reason they don't find properties is because they're not looking. So if you live in an HOA and you essentially are coming across a house, a vacant lot, a house, always ask yourself, number one, what's going on with that lot? Number two, as best as you can, find out information with vacant lots inside of HOAs. These motivated sellers, these owners of these lots, oftentimes are some of the highest motivated sellers. Why? Why are they some of the highest motivated sellers? Well, I'll tell you this. Number one, remember, they own that lot. And so they still have to pay an HOA, a homeowners association fee with regards to that lot. Number one. Number two, they pay taxes on that lot. And so vacant lots within an HOA are some of the most motivated sellers that you can come across and that you can find, right? Pay attention to those vacant lots within HOAs. I'm telling you guys, some of these properties are gold, but you have to understand your exit strategies with regards to, number one, you got to understand two things: your acquisition and then your exit strategy. You have to understand acquisition and then exit strategy. In other words, understanding your end game. Number two, Craigslist. Tons of vacant land deals on Craigslist. There are people listing properties, visiting vacant land on Craigslist right now. Some of these people that have listed properties on Craigslist right now are real estate investors. Some of these people that are listing vacant land on Craigslist right now are property owners. Some of these property owners need to leave the state. Some of these property owners, unfortunately, have had a loved one pass away and they need to sell their lot. There's so many different situations and scenarios as to why people are selling, right? As to why people are selling. That's the second way as to how you find vacant land in your market. Number three, Facebook groups. Facebook groups are powerful ways to find vacant land. True, a lot of real estate investors are assigning or selling or wholesaling these deals. However, when you come across people in different Facebook groups that are actually listing vacant land, some of these people are not real estate investors. Some people just own land that they're tired of dealing with. And this is a hint for a lot of you that are out there. A lot of these people that are listing off-market vacant land are not just in real estate and real estate investing groups. Some of these people, you can really find creative ways of how to find these individuals in different groups that are not necessarily 100% real estate investing related. So Facebook groups, great way of how to find cheap vacant land. Number four, bandit signs. These are these "we buy houses" signs that you all see on the sides of the freeways and the off ramps and the off ramps and on ramps, and everybody is listing "we buy houses," we buy houses. Yet very few put up bandit signs that say "we buy land," we buy land. Put that into your memory bank. The next time you go to a particular city, or maybe it's in your city, where everyone is listing "we buy houses" signs and no one, or essentially very few people, are listing "we buy land" signs. Very interesting. Think about that. The local county, your local county office. This is an office where they have tons and tons of property records, from birth records to death records, probates, delinquent taxes, et cetera, et cetera. This is gold. And I'm gonna just go ahead and put this out there because I always talk about this particular topic. Finding a way to take the time, the absolute 100% time, to contact your local office about properties. Take the time to go down there and visit. Everybody wants to do things on social media, everybody wants to go ahead and do a phone call. What if you go ahead, you take it a little bit old school, and you take yourself down there and I just did a consultation recently. You give yourself some time. You go ahead, you go down there and you donate your time. Give the local county office your time. And if you don't know where yours is at, I want you to go ahead and go to Google right now. And I want you to type in delinquent property taxes, your city and state. I want you to go ahead and point click, go directly to whatever that address says to your local county office. If you can't find it doing delinquent, do property search. So go ahead and go to Google. I want you to type in your city and state property records or property search. Take yourself down there and go to that address and go ask, hey, where would the local property taxes be located? Where and what section of this area would local property, your delinquent property taxes be located? Go down there and ask them about code violations. This is a great way, number one, to begin to develop relationships, which many of us have gotten so far away from. It's almost like in 2023, we become so addicted to the internet because it makes things easier. Well, guess what? Some of your counties are very challenging, but just understand this. As challenging as they are with keeping property records, if you take the time, your precious time, to go down there for an hour or two or three, or go down there once a week or once a month to go give your time down there, I'm telling you, it's more than worth it. This is how you're beginning to develop connections. You're beginning to develop that person-to-person connection with your local county office. There's tons of leads down there, guys. It's a great way of how to find cheap vacant land, right? Take the time to do that. And then right here, you have direct mail. Direct mail is probably the best, one of the best ways, if not the best way, because it's so targeted, right? Yes, it's out of everything on this list. Yes, this is probably the most pricey. I will say that, because shooting off direct mail is not cheap, especially if you're going to go in, to the 100 to 200 to 300 people, 500, 1,000, 10,000 people, et cetera, right? Direct mail can add up, but guess what? It's by far one of, if not the most effective way of how to find cheap vacant land, guys. At the end of the day, all of these ways work, but you have to work them, right? You have to work them. There's some people that have left me feedback and whatnot, and this is gold. In Seattle market, would love an opportunity to work with this. Just some people going ahead and leaving me feedback and whatnot, right? Thanks for the valuable information once again, right? It is beautiful to take the time to invest in cheap vacant land. The cheapest piece of land that I've ever come across, cheapest deal that I've ever come across, is a piece of vacant land in Tennessee for $10. Why would somebody sell a piece of vacant land for $10? It's because you have hundreds, thousands of people that are out there that just don't want it anymore. They just want to get rid of it. So if you all take the time to go ahead and check out those previous 6 steps, I'm telling you, and you put forth effort, you will find a piece of cheap vacant land within the next week, within the next 7 days. I'm telling you, right? This information is gold. Thank you. I'm telling you guys, it just is. Vacant land is a beautiful thing. If you take the time to go ahead and to put forth effort and do it, just go ahead, put forth effort and do it, guys. You will find your vacant lot. Do you want something for your mobile home? You want to put a piece of mobile home? You want to put a mobile home on the property? Do you want to go ahead and build a duplex or triplex or maybe a 4-unit? What about a house? Right? So many different. What if you want to go ahead and just lease the land out to someone? There's so many different things that you all can do with vacant land. Is scary. You can even do a rezone. It's incredible. There's so many people that are out there that don't understand vacant land. It's ridiculous. Guys, if you're interested in vacant land and knowing how to make money from it, check out vacantlandprofits.com. Go to vacantlandprofits.com. I will show you, I will teach you step by step by step what to do and how to do it. Check out vacantlandprofits.com, guys. I'll see you soon.